Hello and good evening. Welcome to College Connect Tempe's What to Know Before You Apply for College webinar. My name is Meg Sanders and I'm an advisor for College Connect Tempe, your source for college and career preparation. I will be your host for this evening. First, I'd like to thank you all for joining and a big thank you to our amazing partners who help make this event possible. Thank you to the City of Tempe for their support, Tempe Union High School District for their partnership, and Arizona Department of Education, who partially funds College Connect. We have some great presenters on the agenda from Access ASU, U of A on behalf of Tri-University, and College Connect. A few things to know as we get started. This presentation will be recorded, uploaded on our site, and sent out to you. Please make sure you sign in. The link to sign in is located inside the chat. Students who are attending and sign in are entered into a Target gift card drawing. Winners will be announced at the end of this presentation. This will also enter you into our $1,000 scholarship that we do a drawing for in May. Please keep an eye out on the Q&A as we'll post information links throughout the workshop. You will also use this section to ask any questions anytime during the presentation. At the conclusion of the workshop, there will be a satisfaction survey we will ask you to complete for feedback. First, I'd like to share a bit about College Connect. College Connect provides free advising services to assist students with their post-graduation goals and any college career pathway. We serve students regardless of where you live, what school you attend, your age, and whether you're in school or out of school at the moment. We offer advising on campuses virtually and at the Tempe Public Library. Advisors can assist with financial aid in FAFSA, applying for scholarships, college applications, anything career ready, including resumes and interview preparation, exploring colleges and careers, and referring you to career and college representatives and resources. You can also drop in anytime or make an appointment. We also offer College Connect scholarships. Each one of our scholarships is worth $1,000. The Ramsey Social Justice Foundation sponsors our scholarships, and currently we have 4. There's 3 listed here, but there are 4 total. For each scholarship, the requirement is that you attend a one-on-one meeting with an advisor or attend one of our workshops, which you're doing right now. And there are different criteria that you can read. You can go on our website. We have the College Connect scholarships. There are 8 of those. We have the Ron Pies Environmental Justice Scholarship, the Robin Arredondo Savage ROTC Military Scholarship, and our new scholarship, which is not on this slide, but on our website, is called the George Kirk Scholarship. Again, you can book an appointment online through the counseling office at your school or with this unique QR code through the College Connect website. And parents or guardians, you're also welcome to join the appointments at any time. Now that we've informed you about College Connect, we're ready to begin our presentations. Please welcome Michelle Jimenez from Access ASU.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to get to know what you should be expecting as you're preparing to start applying for universities and colleges. So let's get started. So our agenda for today is going to look a little bit like this. Our senior timeline, what to expect, transfer programs, admissions process, and our one campus model. So with our seniors timeline, these are going to be different things, of course, for every student, but something to keep in mind as you're starting your senior year. So, of course, the steps towards college is going to look very different for every student, but having a clear understanding of what schools you're hoping to apply to is very important. Also, making sure to be aware of deadlines that certain universities have, especially if you're looking to out-of-state universities. Usually their deadlines are very different than our in-state universities. So having that in mind is also very important. And then thinking in conjunction to what schools you're looking to apply to is, how are you financially going to support this new chapter of your life? And then as we kind of start breaking down a little bit more of the nitty gritty of our college process, it is also creating your FAFSA ID. This year, our FAFSA will be open in December. We still do not have an expected date, a specific date yet. However, do expect that sometime in December, all of your high schools will be talking about the FAFSA, talking about having to make sure to complete it. So making sure you have that information on hand is very important. And so making sure to understand that if you're hoping to apply to certain scholarships or certain programs, it is important to complete the FAFSA as early as it opens, because you may miss out on opportunities out of scholarships and other things of that sort. And then, of course, once you've completed all your applications, you've completed your FAFSA application, and now you've been hopefully admitted to the institutions of your wishing. Now it's time for you to compare those different kinds of financial aid packages that are hopefully going to be able to make your decision a little easier as to what school is going to be the best fit for you. And then when we're thinking about the college process, another important aspect of the college going process is having extracurricular activities in your high school resume and ensuring that at the end of the day, as great as it is that students are getting good grades, universities also want to know what you are doing outside of your high school experience that is helping you develop as a leader, so that you can come to the university and bring those awesome aspects of leadership to their campus. And then making sure that if you're applying to certain scholarships or certain programs, that you're asking for letters of recommendation. These letters of recommendation should be coming from a teacher, a mentor, a coach, someone that has known you and has been able to gradually see your academic growth. Unfortunately, a family member does not count for this particular aspect, but it is a great way to develop a relationship with a teacher, as I mentioned, a coach, or even a counselor. So I always encourage students that if you have a teacher that you've been able to develop a really amazing relationship with, maybe asking them, and of course giving them enough time to complete a letter of recommendation, because we also want to make sure that you're asking a teacher or educator who is going to take the time to be able to write a little bit about you and your experience and how they've been able to see you grow. And then, of course, continue to get involved. There's a lot of wonderful scholarships out there that simply by doing community service hours, you're able to apply to their scholarship. And so even if that's maybe you getting involved with your local church or your local YMCA, whatever the case may be, having those extracurricular activities and community service opportunities in the back pocket will definitely help enhance your experience and also the process of your college going applications. And then, of course, with your academics, if you haven't already, please meet with your counselors, because this year, you counselor and student should be best friends. Given that the counselor has a lot of great advice, also a lot of information that maybe you don't know, especially when applying to in-state universities. They have a wealth of knowledge that could be very helpful during your process in applying to college. And then if you have the opportunity to take some challenging courses or subjects, I encourage that as well, because most institutions like to see how are you getting out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself with your academic courses. Because once again, if you're getting all A's in your regular courses, admissions are going to probably question, why hasn't the student challenged themselves to get out of their comfort zone to actually maybe take some advanced courses or dual enrollment, whatever the case may be, if your high school definitely offers it. And then, of course, making sure you're passing all your classes with good grades, because at the end of the day, your grades you have accumulated to this point mean actual dollars by the time you start applying to the institutions and the scholarships that you're hoping to apply for. So those are some very key components to the college process itself, and I hope that you guys are able to kind of take this with you as you're starting that journey thus far. Next, please. And then we absolutely understand that sometimes, given maybe not having the adequate GPA, or maybe not knowing what you want to do and having the idea of going to a big university like ASU or any of the other in-state universities may feel overwhelming. So the easiest track for you may be community college, which, by the way, that is a perfect way for a post-secondary start. However, all of our Maricopa Community College have a great program where if you choose to go to community college first, but then want to possibly graduate or possibly would like to go into any of the in-state universities, there's tracks and pathways towards that. So for example, you would, if you're going to one of the Maricopa Community Colleges and you speak to your academic advisor there and you say, hey, my long-term goal is to go to ASU, that counselor will actually work with you and ensure that you're taking classes in the major that you're hoping to complete there and continue afterwards at ASU so that you're on track and all your credits are transferable. And it also gives you the opportunity to test out if college is for you. Of course, the cost of community college is way different and way lower than our in-state universities. And so if that is a big factor for you, you want to make sure you're exploring all of those options. I always tell students, you don't know what you don't know. However, it is absolutely your responsibility to find out. And although you will be surrounded with a bunch of educators and different partners through different institutions, please utilize us as a resource, as a tool to help navigate these conversations. Because I myself, as a first-generation college student, as much as I would have loved having these conversations with my parents and they wanted me to go to college, they only knew what they knew. So I really had to align myself with educators and mentors to kind of help me understand what was going to be the best option for me. Because at the end of the day, creating options doesn't happen from one day to another. You have to take the initiative to want to find out what are the available resources out there and how can whoever is supporting you help engage in those conversations. Next, please. And so here is just, it's called MAPP, which is My Path to ASU. And essentially, once again, like I mentioned earlier, if you know that maybe right now at this moment, once you graduate high school, going to ASU is not your best option for whatever the case may be, but maybe down the line it is. This is how you kind of start that process, by having that conversation with your academic advisor at your community college. And essentially, they map out a whole series of classes and other opportunities so that you are on track and are able to transfer your credits that you've earned in your community college into your ASU chapter. And so it could be a very easy process, but it could also be a very complicated process if you're not in constant communication with your community college counselor, and then also with your ASU rep that would essentially help you navigate that process. Next, please. And so what do you need to apply? And maybe some of you already have applied, so kudos to you. We love that some of you have already applied, and we're hoping that all of you apply, right? And once again, you don't know what's out there, but it's absolutely your responsibility to find out how to explore the options that are available to you. So depending on where you're applying to, you will need letters of recommendation. At ASU, we do not need letters of recommendation for our general application process. However, if you're looking once again out of state, this might be something that is required because you are an out-of-state student. I always make sure to tell students that if you're interested to go out of state, have their admission requirement ahead of time so that you could better prepare, and if needed a letter of recommendation, you could ask someone with the appropriate time. Because the worst thing about letters of recommendation is because they take a lot of time, because the person wants to make sure they're writing well on your behalf and they want to support your goal. But if you're giving them a short amount of time, they may not be able to provide you with the best letter of recommendation that they could give because of the short time that they were given. Another thing is personal statements. Once again, at ASU, that's not part of our admissions process. However, I do know that other in-state universities, that is something that you could add on to your application, depending on if maybe you didn't do so well academically. It's an opportunity for admissions to better understand your story through your academics, because you have to understand, all of these institutions will never get to know you in person by your application. Your application says a story, your transcript says a story. So when you're able to better understand how to create a story through your personal statement, it can in fact help your overall admissions application. And so, like I mentioned, at ASU, we do not require a personal statement, nor is it embedded into our ASU application, but I do know that for other institutions, that is the case. Once again, that is some information that you should know ahead of time so you could better prepare for it. And then, of course, your academic resume or your high school resume, really keeping record of all your different involvements that you've had outside and inside of your high school experience, as well as any awards or recognitions that you've been awarded during your time in high school. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes at admissions, this stuff is not required, but when you're applying for certain scholarships want to know, what have you done? What has been your way to give back to the community? And so having that information in hand can definitely help alleviate some of the stress, because I know we're all human. Luckily for us, we can't remember everything, right? And so having it somewhere jot down could definitely help alleviate some of the chaos that comes with getting all of this information together. And then, of course, fee waivers. So now, specifically with our ASU application, we have an embedded question at the end of our application. Well, it's going to give you about 5 different statements. And based on those statements, if you click any of those, you are likely to have a fee waiver. But if none of those statements apply to you, then you have to pay for the application. Our application varies, and so if you decide that you're going to pay for it, it gives you 2 options. You either say pay right now or pay later. If you decide to do the pay later, it is only going to I think within a week or so, they send you a text message and an email letting you know, hey, we received your application. Can you please, here's a link to make the payment for that fee application. So it is pretty easy, like I said, very easy to kind of get through. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to either ask your counselor, or if I'm on your high school campus, feel free to ask me as well. I'm always open for any questions, comments, or concerns as it pertains to our application. Next, please. And so when do you apply? Some of you, as I mentioned, have probably already applied, which is amazing. And some of you maybe haven't applied yet just because you're figuring out what is going to be the best option for you. And by all means, there's no shame on that. Understanding what your options are is what helps create good decision-making skills. So depending on where you're at, if you haven't already, it's okay. You still have a good enough of time to apply to at least in-state universities. Once again, I don't know how that would look like for out-of-state universities, and that's why understanding when those priority deadlines are coming is very important. And then also understanding that some schools do have application fees. Most schools have application fees. I believe that every school has a different fee associated with it. So just keep that in mind as well, because sometimes students are like, I want to apply to 10 different universities. That means that might be a 10 different costs that you have to think about. And so ensuring that you have, once again, that information ahead of time can be very useful, and also reduce some of that stress that the college process already brings you. And then when you are able to apply ahead of time, usually you, at least with ASU, if you decide to apply and do your self-reporting, you'll get notified within a week. But if you decide to apply to ASU and click the option that your school will send over your transcript, that could take between 5 to 6 weeks. So that's a pretty lengthy time. So if you want to know if you've been admitted specifically to ASU, I would suggest that when you're doing your application, you're doing the self-reporting option, because you will get notified within that week. And then guess what? When you get notified and then you get to complete your FAFSA, you get pretty much first dibs on housing, classes, and other things like that. Because sometimes I do see sometimes where students decide to submit their ASU application later, and then they also complete their FAFSA later. Then they don't get the better quality classes, maybe the better time frames, I should say, the better time frames, because who wants to go to an 8 a.m. class in college? I know I was definitely not one of those students. And so if you're thinking of those things ahead of time, it could definitely also enhance your experience as your first year in college. And then, of course, the sooner you apply, the earlier you're able to make a decision. And then guess what? You kind of start coasting the rest of your senior year, which is amazing, because I've known students who are stressing up to the last few months of their senior year. And this is a time that you should be enjoying and really taking the time to be present, because guess what? You'll never be in high school ever again after this time. And I know that you're probably like, who cares? I want to get this over with. But I promise the space that you're in now is so unique and so different that when you're in college, you may reminisce of how I wish I would have just enjoyed being in high school just a little longer. Please, next, please. And so here are some tips for you all. Keeping track of all the college applications that you have done. I've encountered students in the past where they didn't remember all of the different, especially when you're applying to more than 5 universities. I mean, it's hard to keep tabs on all of that. The student had gotten accepted into a university with a full ride, and although that school was not her top choice, she completely missed a deadline to see whether or not she wanted to attend that school. And when she realized, it was too late. And then she also missed out on the opportunity of being able to go to that institution free of cost. That's a very extreme example, but it does happen. We are human. We're not robots, and we don't get to remember all the things, even though we would love to. Trust me, I always say I remember as much as I possibly can, but even then, sometimes things just run out of your mind and you completely forget about them and put them in the back burner. So if you could keep track of all the applications you've submitted, so like that you could regularly check, okay, have they sent me any information? Is there anything else that maybe the institution is looking for? Things like that is very important. And also, it is going to prepare you for when you're in college and you're taking these courses, and you're going to be doing a bunch of different things at the same time. And so keeping yourself as organized as possible can be very helpful. And essentially, that is what our second tip is: physically using a kind of tool to keep you organized, whether that's Google Docs, whether that's a calendar, a planner, a physical planner, whatever works for you. If you start creating those habits now, when you're in college, it'll be a lot easier to keep on with that habit, and it allows you to be as successful as you want to be in college. And then also have a unofficial transcript handy, just in case, because once again, sometimes depending on the scholarship or depending on the institution, they would like to have an unofficial transcript. So that might not be something that all institutions need, but some may need that just for their own purposes, and it's important to have that already in hand. And then note that application materials are required for each school that look looks very different for every institution once again. So having the knowledge of what to expect from the institutions you're applying for is very helpful. And then once again, completing your application, your college application, then, completing your college application on a computer, on a personal computer is the best way to go. Never do a college application or your FAFSA on phone, because that could be, our phones have different software in comparison to our computers. So if you're able to do it on a personal computer, that's definitely suggested. Next, please. And so when we're thinking about what kind of majors you're maybe intending to go into, something that's important is to think about what are the requirements for that particular program. So for example, I know that there are students who want to either go into theater or something in the musical arts at ASU, and although they decide to make that, like say, the theater their major, there is usually sometimes a little detail box that says you're going to have to audition to see if you could go into this major. And so there is definitely programs out there that you might have to have supplemental requirements in order for you to actually get into that major. It could also be that, for example, if you're interested in going into the Barrett's program, you submit your ASU application, and then they have a separate application afterwards, and that is also, that's where they require a letter of recommendation, a personal statement, etc. And so having that information will be very helpful ahead of time. And guess what? You get to change your major as many times as you want. By all means, we would love for you not to change your major, because sometimes that could create a ripple effect of obstacles. But if it's a major that you decide to change within the similar field that you're in, it should be no problem. On average, college students change their majors between 5 to 7 times, and guess what? That is okay, because that means you're exploring the different options with career-wise, and thinking about, okay, is this something that's really going to fulfill me in the long run, or am I just doing this because maybe your parents are expecting you, or whatever the case may be. So really understand that college is an opportunity to really do all that you want to do, and it really just utilize the resources on campus to ensure that you can get the assistance that you're seeking for. Next, please. And then if you could do next, we have our one campus model. Let's see if it will play.
My own perceptions of what like Arizona was going to be like, coming from the San Francisco Bay Area in California, and growing up in a very diverse community. I was like, I'm going to Arizona, it's not going to be anything like that. And I was pleasantly surprised from day one.
We base our acceptance for students on inclusion rather than exclusion.
The university has instilled a level of respect for other cultures.
Just being able to like understand people on like a different, like on a cultural level, makes all the difference in the world.
I feel people around the campus are very friendly. It's very easy to make friends here.
As far as experiencing cultures, the door's wide open for almost anyone.
I made a lot of friends, not only US friends, also some friends from other countries.
I have friends from India, China, met a guy from Colombia.
Whether it's a different financial background than myself or different ethnic background, people come from all over the country and all over the world.
This is the place where you can learn about the cultures of Africa, you can learn about the cultures of different continents, because there's like a culmination of all these people here.
And I want to learn about different cultures. I'm very interested in where people come from and the interests they have.
I would like to be the first person to say hello. I never felt weird or awkward wearing my hijab at ASU. It's a very multicultural place where I can share my knowledge and culture.
Everywhere has its own different ideas to bring in.
I get to taste different foods and hear different stories.
Being able to speak in a different language, that's a benefit by itself. It's invaluable.
I was brought up in a culture that emphasized the importance of being open to other cultures. And I think that is a key component when it comes to talking about where people come from and their different backgrounds.
Just try to expand your mindset and just meet other people who are going through different things than you.
College is the time where you really develop yourself as a person. When you become yourself and other people become themselves, you make friends you honestly connect with on a better level.
You meet so many different people and it's helped me grow a lot more as a person.
ASU is one of the most diverse universities in the world. Don't think that you're going to be alone.
Whoever you are, you're going to be accepted here.
Awesome. And like that video said, no matter where you're coming from, what your walk of life is, there will always be a home within ASU for you. And so I hope that with that, you all maybe consider ASU if you haven't already. And so it really is an opportunity to find yourself, see what kind of version of yourself you wish to cultivate and hope to develop into. And so it really is amazing that no matter whether that's West Campus, Tempe Campus, Downtown Campus, the Polytechnic Campus, there is always a place for all of our students. And it's just a matter of what is the opportunities that you're seeking for that are going to better enhance the version of yourself that you're trying to create. So with that, I'll just leave it there. Just so like that, our next presenter has enough time to present for themselves as well. If there is any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll definitely answer them later on towards the end.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Stark. I am the College Connect advisor here at Mountain Point High School. I'm going to kind of just talk a little bit about the 4 E's, which are the 4 different pathways to choose after high school. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A chat so that we can answer them as they come in. But we're just going to kind of go through these 4 E's. Next slide, please. Okay, so the first E is going to be enroll, and this can mean enroll in a 2-year college, enroll in a trade school, or enroll in a university. The end goal is to get a degree or a certificate. This can be an in-state or out-of-state school, and examples include maybe teacher, doctor, engineer, barber, massage therapist, paralegal, anything that you would need a certificate or a degree for. So some of the in-state universities include NAU, ASU, U of A, and GCU. NAU, ASU, and U of A are public universities, and GCU is a private university. In order to guarantee admission into these colleges, it's good to have at least a 3.0 GPA in your core courses. So that means math, science, English. You do need 2 years of foreign language to get into these universities, excluding NAU. You don't need the 2 years. And it needs to be 2 years of the same foreign language. There is an application fee, but just as Michelle mentioned, there are fee waivers available and options to pay later. Most likely people that go to these in-state universities are there for 4 years to get their bachelor, and sometimes end up going back to get a higher level degree such as a master's or a PhD. But for the most part, most of the people there are getting their bachelor. There are some in-state community colleges that are also open to enroll in. They are open admissions, which means you do not have to have a specific GPA or specific courses. As long as you graduate high school and can show that you have that high school diploma, you qualify for any of the in-state colleges. There is no application fee, but these are 2-year schools, which means that the highest degree that you can earn from these schools is an associate's degree. In some cases, they do have bachelor's degrees, but only for specific programs. So definitely check to see if your program is one of them. But a lot of these community colleges have pathways that can help you transfer to an in-state or an out-of-state university of your choice. So they have like pathways to ASU, NAU, U of A, GCU, and there'll be an academic advisor helping you along the way to make sure that you're taking those correct classes. Out-of-state colleges are also an option, whether you want to go to an out-of-state community college, university, or trade school. Just keep in mind that the admission requirements are going to be different for every school outside of Arizona. Some require letters of recommendation, some require a personal statement or an essay. Most are test optional, which means you don't have to provide your ACT or SAT score if you don't want to. But just remember that every school is different. And if you ever need help looking at admission requirements to see whether or not you fit them, just let any of us know so that we can walk you through and make sure that you're aware of those admission requirements. Now we're going to go through some trade school options. Trade school is a great option for those that maybe want to earn a certificate but don't want to go to a traditional university or college. Some trade school option careers include mechanic, welding, HVAC, barber, cosmetology, driving one of those big rigs, being in culinary arts. Some of these certificates you can get in less than 24 months, and it's very much hands-on learning. So you're actually learning how to do that skill versus taking classes like English, math, and science. There is no GPA requirement to get into trade schools, and they are certification based. So it just kind of depends on what skill or trade that you want to do. For example, if you want to do barbering, that usually takes up to 2 years. But if you want to do massage therapy, that usually takes up to like 2 months. So it honestly just depends on the specific trade that you want to do. But there's lots of options here in the Valley, and there's also options outside of the Arizona as well. The second option is to enlist in one of the military branches. So the cool thing about enlisting in one of the military branches is that you can also enroll in a college or university for free or for a discounted price. So that's always an option for you if you kind of want to be able to do both. And you can also get a job within the military. There's plenty of things that you can do within the military, such as being a doctor, being an engineer, being a mechanic. These are all things that you can also do in a military setting. You do have to meet the requirements, which are quite strict, and you also have to pass the ASVAB. The cool thing about the ASVAB is if you go to a Tempe Union school, they offer the ASVAB on campus. Just make sure you talk to counselors about like the potential dates that you want to sign up for. The next E is employment. So if you are looking to go straight into the workforce right out of high school, you can do that too. That's another option for you. The goal obviously is to make more than minimum wage, and possibly having a certificate in a field so that you can make more than minimum wage. Just letting you know, if you are planning on getting a job right out of high school, it's best to have a resume, a cover letter, and some type of experience. Even if that experience is volunteering, or maybe you have a leadership role on your high school campus, anything that would count and would show employers that you're responsible, you're hardworking, and you can be a possible leader for them. For your resume, you want to make sure that you have at least 4 things on that specific resume. Your personal information, such as like your name, your phone number, your email, possibly your address. You want to add that work or volunteer experience, hard or soft skills. Hard skills are going to be things that you can do, such as maybe you can do coding, or maybe you're bilingual and you can speak another language. And then soft skills are going to be more personality based. So that's going to be like you're hardworking, you come to work on time, stuff like that. And then a last thing that you want to add to your resume are the awards given. So if you earned any awards, whether it's like an athletic award or a like a merit academic award, those will all be good options to put on your resume to show what kind of employee you would be. For your cover letter, you want to introduce yourself, explain why you're interested in this specific position, explain how your experience fits the job. So why did you having that volunteer experience, or why did you having that leadership role on campus prepare you for this specific role that you're applying for? And also, it's always good practice to bring up their mission statement and share how you fit that mission statement. You can usually find their mission statement in their About section in their website, so that you can share with them that you're interested in the position, you're interested in their mission, and you want to help the specific company or organization you're applying to. And if you ever need help with your resume or your cover letter, please let any of us know. Since it is one of the 4 E's, that is something that we help with. Next slide. The last and final E is going to be to explore. With the explore option, it's giving you some time to explore those other 3 E's. So you're going to see if you want to enroll in a school, if you want to enlist in a military branch, or if you want to employ yourself right out of high school. So it's just giving you that extra time to see what E you're ultimately going to pick. It's definitely important for you to get a job while you're exploring these different options, so that you are gaining experience, you're gaining knowledge for whatever pathway you decide to choose. And then the end goal is to choose one of those other 3 E's. So you don't want to be in that explore E forever. You want to be able to choose one of those other 3 as your official pathway in the end. And that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions about any of the 4 E's or your specific E or pathway that you want to choose, please let any of the College Connect advisors know. We are on your campuses if you're in Tempe Union. If not, we can do virtual and in-person appointments at the Tempe Library. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am now going to chat about your 3 state Arizona universities. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Tina Spears. I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment for the University of Arizona. And again, I get the pleasure of being here on behalf of Tri University. While each university offers a different experience, we encourage our students to have the opportunity to explore all three state institutions, apply for all three of us, and we definitely want you to come down to visit. So throughout today, I'm going to share with you some benefits of going to our three state universities. You have already heard a few of those earlier today, but I want to dive a little bit deeper in our admissions requirements, our honors college, housing, and much more. So here in Arizona, our economy needs certain careers. We have expanding internships and career opportunities in Arizona for some careers as much as healthcare in the bioscience, construction and design, cybersecurity, as we all know, as social media tends to expand. We have those great opportunities to be able to work right here in the heart of Arizona and across the state to be able to expand in those industries and expand our economy within the state that we live in. So what's the value of staying in state? Well, the big value is that in-state tuition. A lot of students want to travel out of state, but they don't know that that comes with a hefty price tag. And what I mean by that is sometimes out-of-state tuition, depending on the location that you're going to, is 3 times as much as in-state. So what we have the opportunity of doing at our three state institution is offering in-state scholarships as well as merit. All three of our state institutions offers a merit scholarship just on self-reporting your grades on your application. You also have the benefit of staying close to home, being able to travel home on the weekends if you're in going to school in Tucson, if you're going to school in Flagstaff. You have the ability of being able to travel home on the weekend and throughout Arizona and visiting this great state. But again, what about that value of education? All three of our state institutions are highly ranked in our academic programs. So within that, while you are not going out of state, you are still receiving a huge value in your education, and making sure that you're staying in state is what we love to do. So within the state, again, increasing that post-secondary enrollment, we are constantly increasing the revenue within our state and expanding our state's revenue to $5 billion each year. And here's the great thing about that is, don't you want that return on investment to go towards your siblings, your cousins, maybe even your children someday? College graduates increase their lifetime earnings by $1.2 million in the state. And that's more than what you would earn without a degree. Arizona colleges graduates will benefit, graduating from Arizona College will help you benefit with our society increasing, housing markets and so forth, and different things like that. It can all improve our economy and what we have to live in throughout the state. So let's talk a little bit about our honors colleges and our housing. So each of our universities have best of both worlds within our honors college. So our communities, why honors? What's the benefit? So it has an opportunity for you to kind of expand on research, faculty interactions, maybe even some study abroad programs, internships, in a smaller class size within a larger university. All of our universities are pretty small, ranking from ASU being the largest. In the middle here, we have our wonderful University of Arizona, and then up in Flagstaff, we have Northern Arizona. Within that, you have internships. You have you can create that unique journey and provide yourself a little bit more rigor in your classroom. But most importantly, expanding on that professional development, which is the reason why we all go to school. I do want to highlight some key deadlines within our Honors College for our institutions and make sure that we address those because it's very important. So I'll start from the bottom, which is our W.A. Franke Honors College. For W.A. Franke Honors College, our due date will be February 1st this year. So we want to make sure that students are applying to the Honors College by February 1st. Each of our in-state institutions have different deadlines, so we want to make sure that our students are seeing those and making sure that you apply by those deadlines. Then we have ASU, which deadline applications are opening up soon, but those deadlines are in spring as well. They do have an early deadline coming up in November, and then also having their deadline in January as well. And then in Northern Arizona, I'm trying to pull up my notes for our 3 state institutions, but Northern Arizona, we also have a deadline. Their applications opens up in October, and they have a priority deadline as well. If you want to find out more information about those 3 deadlines and what you need to apply for each and every one of our honors colleges, please reach out to your admissions counselor and can definitely help you and guide you on how to apply. While we're sitting here on our honors tab, I do not want to forget to recommend that all students stay on campus. Staying on campus gives you an opportunity of expanding your experience. It is not required to stay on campus for NAU and U of A, but it is highly recommended. When you stay on campus, your average GPA does increase, and the likelihood of you graduating in 4 years also increases. So we definitely want to make sure that we emphasize that benefit of applying for housing and also applying early because it can fill up. So what do you need to apply to our university? That's very important. All 3 of our state institutions have very similar requirements outlined by our Arizona Board of Regents. So for our schools, all 3 of us look at 16 core classes. Those are 4 years of English, 4 years of mathematics, 3 years of lab science, 2 years of social science, 2 years of second language, and 1 year of fine arts or CTE. If you see 2 big asterisks up on the screen for those social sciences, you must have 1 year of U.S. history, Arizona history, or American history. However it's labeled on your transcripts, you must have at least 1 year. Now for that second language, you cannot have it in 2 different languages. It must be 2 years in the same second language. However, the Northern Arizona University does not require those 2 years of second language. However, they are not encouraging you to not take a foreign language, as it does help you as you get into your foreign language classes at the university, but it is not required. They will look at 14 classes instead of the 16. So how do I know if I'm going to get admitted? We have a couple of ways of evaluating students for admissions. The first way is guaranteed admissions. So we look at those core 16 classes that I just spoke about. If you have a 3.0 unweighted core GPA, you are assured admissions into Arizona State University and University of Arizona with no deficiencies of those core classes. If you have a 2.75, Northern Arizona University up in Flagstaff has lowered that core guaranteed GPA to 2.75. Now, what if I don't meet that? What if I have 2.9, 2.5? That doesn't mean that you are not admissible into our universities. What we take a look at is a comprehensive review. So this is university specific. So again, we don't want you to have more than 2 deficiencies. So again, you can't be missing 2 years of English plus 1 year of math and a year in foreign language. So we take a look at the deficiencies, so making sure that you meet those core 16. And then we also want to make sure that you don't have deficiencies in both math and lab science. The great thing is we're all test optional. It is not required to take the ACT or SAT. However, I do strongly encourage it. There are thousands of scholarships out there that do ask what your ACT or SAT score is, whether or not they consider that. You want to be able to apply for as many scholarships as possible. Also, ACT or SAT can help you if you have a deficiency. So again, we encourage you to take the test, but again, we are a test optional universities across the state. So what do you need to apply? We touched on this a little bit earlier, but you need some demographic information. You need your high school courses. When you are self-reporting on all 3 of our applications, we still need to know what senior classes you are taking. So those senior classes would be in progress. We want to make sure that you have a transcript in front of you. One of the lovely ladies earlier mentioned that. And then also the application fee or fee waiver. And I'll go into that on the next slide for all 3 institutions. So ASU does have a fee waiver. Our ASU Access rep spoke on that. It is within the application. For those of you looking to apply to Northern Arizona University, that application fee is automatically waived for students in Arizona. So if you get that pay prompt, please reach out to your rep and they will take care of that fee. And then lastly, at University of Arizona, the fee waiver is within the application. There's an application fee waiver page. We recommend you taking the time to read those qualifications for a fee waiver. Otherwise, if you are an Arizona resident, that application fee is $50. So again, quick and easy self-reporting. We don't need your high school transcript unless it is requested. So if you self-report, the great thing is that we can give you an admission decision a lot sooner. At the University of Arizona, and this is the only school I can speak about, if you self-report, we will give you a admission decision within 2 to 4 weeks. If you don't, then we would have to request your transcripts from your high school counselor, and it will delay that admissions decision. So again, there's no need to submit that transcript at any point unless it is requested until you graduate, so we can verify that you have a high school diploma. All right, so wrapping it up here, I do want to share some important information about our universities. So all 3 state institutions recommend that you use our applications to apply. If you are applying to Northern Arizona University, you cannot use the Common App. So please make sure you are going to nau.edu/apply. Now, Arizona State University uses the Common App, but again, we all recommend, as well as U of A, we all recommend that you use our applications on the slide to apply. Lastly, we recommend that you pay us a visit. If you don't know where Tucson is or never been to Flagstaff, we want you to come see us. We want you to come on campus, immerse yourself in that experience to be able to see if you find yourself a fit on our campuses. A couple of dates here that may change, but we have our financial aid priority dates. I will stress the importance of applying for FAFSA before those priority dates, whenever it becomes open in December, to make sure that you meet the deadlines for some institutional grants and scholarships. If you have any questions, feel free to contact your representative at each university, and that is also located on the screen here. I appreciate you all so much for joining me. I'm going to pass it back over to Meg, but thank you all for allowing me to join with you guys and chat about our 3 state institutions, and we cannot wait to see you at our Tri-University student event that is coming up on September 10th out in Glendale, unless you have already joined us in Tempe this weekend. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much to everyone that presented. We realize that there's been a lot of information shared this evening, and you may still be processing some of this information. Know that if you think of some questions now, we would love you to put that in the chat so that we can handle your questions tonight. And if for some reason, after we complete the webinar, you think of something in the next day or two, feel free to reach out to us at College Connect. You can go to the College Connect Tempe website, and our email address is there for you. So Isis, do we have any questions that we would like to address right now?
We don't have any questions, but send the questions in.
We'll just wait a minute or two and see if we get some questions here. And then if not, we will close and we'll announce our Target gift card winners. Feel free to ask anything. No question is a bad question. We have some great reps here that have a lot of experience, so feel free to put something in the chat if you have a question.
So someone put in the chat, is this going to be recorded? It will be recorded, and you will be getting an email with the recording within the week.
Okay, we'll just wait for about 30 more seconds.
I have a question for Tina Spears. There's a question in the chat about the campus tours. Yes. Most campus tours are during the week. Is there anything that's like students can have that if they need to miss school for a college tour that they have?
Yes, most of our institutions do have campus tours on Saturdays. They are one time where you can, one time during that day. I recommend each of you, the slide was up about how to visit our universities. You should be able to go on to the websites and select the date in which you would like to attend. For example, the University of Arizona, we have tours every Saturday, but we also have events on the weekends as well. So those events that we are hosting at our various institutions, highly recommend you go to those because we put a little bit more work into those events than a traditional self-guided tour or a ambassador guided tour that you would have at our various in-state institutions.
Thank you. So there's a question in the chat, when can we apply for the FAFSA? The FAFSA is not open just yet. They're changing the FAFSA to be updated this year, so it's easier and simplified. The FAFSA won't be open until December. We don't know the exact date, but when we do know the exact date, we will be giving more information out once we get it down the pipeline. So there is another question about whether you can still take the SAT or the ACT. You can still take the SAT and the ACT. You would just go onto their websites. I can put the website in the chat as well. They're going to be on Saturdays once a month. Is there a requirement at ASU to live on campus as a freshman? The answer is no. You don't have to live on campus at any of the universities.
Yes.
There is a question for Tina in the chat. What was the event that you were talking about for the Tri-U event at this weekend?
Yes, and I misspoke. It is September 10th. That is our next Tri-University event in Glendale. It is on a Sunday. I am going to try my best to find it really quickly to have you guys register if you guys want to travel over to the West Valley to be able to sign up for the event. If not, though, all of our state institutions will be in and outside of your classrooms as well as at high school college fairs. So I recommend, I know there's other out-of-state institutions that are there and you want to grab that information, but utilize us as well as we will be there at your high school college fairs as well.
Can either Tina or Michelle elaborate on the FAFSA priority dates?
I can elaborate, but I want to.
And why is it important?
They are very important. So for example, our FAFSA priority dates, one in particular is April 1st for the Arizona Promise Grant. So I didn't touch on this much, but the Arizona Promise Grant is a state grant that is offered to students who qualify. Those qualifications are the following. You must have graduated from a Arizona high school within the last, graduated from Arizona high school, attended for at least 2 years. You must also have a 2.5 core unweighted GPA, but most importantly, applied and completed the application as well as the FAFSA by April 1st. This is a gap aid. And that gap aid will cover the gap in tuition and fees. So for example, if you are admitted into the University of Arizona and you receive $500 in merit, and you qualify for $2 in Pell Grant, you're going to have a gap in tuition, right? So we want to make sure that we assist our Arizona residents on paying for college. And if they qualify for that Arizona Promise Grant, And the only way we can see that is by you completing that FAFSA by April 1st at all 3 state institutions. We want to make sure that you qualify and you reap the benefits, because that's up to 4 years that you can receive that grant. There's other institutional grants that are also associated with that priority date. We know that ASU says January 15th. They have told me over and over again, we're not going to change the date until we find out when FAFSA opens. So if anyone can put in the chat when FAFSA opens, they'll go ahead and change the date, but we don't know yet. It could be beginning of December, it can be the day of Christmas. We don't know quite yet, so we may be adjusting those priority dates, but most importantly, keep in contact with your admissions counselor to make sure that you are meeting those priority dates.
Yes, and if I may add to Tina, that is 100% absolutely true. As of right now, Arizona State will not be changing any of their bigger scholarship applications. For example, our Obama scholarship, the deadline for that is January 15th. So if FAFSA decides to open day of Christmas, you only have 15 days essentially to complete your FAFSA to be eligible for that particular scholarship. There's nothing that you do besides your FAFSA application in order to possibly be qualified for that specific scholarship. And that is a tuition-based scholarship, meaning they will pay for your tuition, they will pay for your room and board, your meal plan, and any other student fees associated with your attendance at ASU. So as long as you complete your FAFSA, the sooner, the better. But like Tina said, everything else is just, we're playing it by ear. I mean, as institutions, we don't know. We're in the same limbo as all of the students. So we're just all hoping for the best, and hopefully it's not during Christmas time, because that's already a chaotic time. So we're hoping that it's a little bit before Christmas, but there is no saying when that will open. And once again, just to reiterate what Tina said, by all means, if you see us on your campus or you're in communication with your counselor, please make sure you're asking questions. If you don't know how to go about the FAFSA, ask for help, because the FAFSA can be a very tedious process, and because of small hiccups, it could delay you, and that could affect potential financial support that you could be getting. So please make sure you're contacting and asking questions to the appropriate people, and we'll be more than happy to assist you however we can.
Another question for Tina. When is the latest time that you can take the SAT or ACT for it to count for admissions?
So remember, we are test optional, so it is not needed for admissions. However, if you have some deficiencies, I recommend that you take the ACT or SAT sooner than later. So you're not waiting till spring or the end of the year to receive an admissions decision, and kind of taking that time for that hustle and bustle. There's no true, like, you can technically take it after graduation, but that's just delaying your process and delaying where you decide to go. We encourage all students to make a decision on where they want to go on May 1st. That's the unknown but known national decision week for most institutions. So we encourage you to do so. If you have not taken it and you want to take it, let's take it before Christmas break. So if we need it, we can be able to utilize it for your admissions decision. While I do see some things that continue to pop up about self-reporting. So I will talk about self-reporting in a little bit more detail really quickly. Self-reporting we will recalculate a GPA. So while I know that some of you have 3.75s on your transcripts, we're not going to really look at that GPA. We are going to recalculate a GPA based on those core 16 classes. So that's really important to know. We are looking at unweighted. One parent asked me the other day, why are we looking at unweighted instead of weighted? Well, many of you may have the opportunity of taking honors courses, but a lot of our schools across the valley do not. So we want to make sure that all three of our state institutions give each student the opportunity to be admitted into our universities equally and fairly. So we look at the unweighted GPA and not the weighted. We do not need transcripts if you self-report correctly. So if you're admitted, don't send your transcripts. We'll ask for them once you graduate. But again, we will ask for transcripts based on request, not requirement. If you don't need it, we won't ask. Of course, until you graduate.
I see really quickly a question here about will the student senior need to get with a ASU counselor before they graduate? No. Once they are admitted and they start day one of school, they'll be able to meet with whoever they need to in regards to creating a plan for their degree or the desired degree to complete that. So there is nothing before graduation. Once they get admitted, all we want them to do is to enjoy the little bit of time they have left as high school students, so that when they come to us in the fall, they are ready to go and fully charged to start their new academic journey as a college student. So there is nothing that the student needs to do once they are admitted. Of course, making sure that if they're going to live on campus, that they confirm their spot in their living residence, but that usually comes once they have received their financial aid packages and so forth. And then I did see another question here about if there's any supports for ADHD or something. So yes, if state colleges have extra help for ADHD students, absolutely. Most or all institutions do have what's called a student accessibility department of sorts. Maybe the title is different at every institution, but at ASU specifically, we do have our student accessibility department, and it will, as long as you have a medical record of that information, the institution will work very closely with you to ensure that you are fully prepared with all the accommodations necessary so that you could be successful at the university. However, that does have to come from you first. So say day one, you know that you're going to need certain accommodations. Knowing where to allocate your student accessibility department is probably going to be the most important thing. And then you'll get what's called a consultant, and that consultant will work with you throughout your 4 years of high school to ensure that whatever is needed so that you could be successful, they could provide that for you.
Yeah, and I would also say that for students who do have learning challenges, at the University of Arizona, we have our amazing SALT Center. That is our Strategic Academic Learning Technique Center that specializes in helping students through peer mentoring and other avenues to be able to be better test takers. If you have a 50, if you're on a 504 and so forth, we are able to assist you. You do need to apply for this program. It is through the on the Future Wildcat account at arizona.edu/apply. Well, you'll apply for this program. I recommend you all taking a look at it. If you do have any learning challenges in any way, shape, or form, going to salt.arizona.edu. I'm going to verify that address because it may be Salt Center, but it is going to be one of them. But we definitely want to recommend that our students do apply for that. We will also be having events throughout the Valley coming up soon about our Salt Center that we encourage you all to take a look and come check out. I had it right the first time. salt.arizona.edu.
And for our ASU one, because I did not have that in hand, so good, Tina, that you had yours. Ours is going to be eoss.asu.edu/accessibility. So if you just Google that, you should be able to find all the information necessary.
Thanks again, everyone. Thank you for your great questions. And thanks to Michelle, Lauren, and Tina for presenting. Please remember to complete the satisfaction survey if you haven't done that yet. And I'd like to announce tonight's gift card winners. They are Jimmy, Jocelyn, and Max. So congratulations to you three on your Target gift card. We'll send each of you the gift card through email within the week. And thank you all for joining us and have a great night.